pitch. Swing and a miss. Struck him out. The Philadelphia Phillies are 2008 World Champions of Baseball. Fran Lynch does it again and stays perfect for the 2008 season.
Aloha and hello out there, everybody. What's going on? This is Miho from the Too Close to Call podcast. This is the Philly Fanatics podcast, your post-series breakdowns and updates for your Fightin' Phils.
Hey, we're going to recap a nice little two-game series, which you don't really see much around in the MLB.
Interleague play, man, just gets fucking weird is what happens there. I don't know why it is. We'll eventually probably play 2 in Detroit, and it's kind of like, why? With off days on both sides of the series? Like, what's the deal here? 17 in a row and then 2 off days in 3-4 days?
Yeah, I went in yesterday like, I'll catch the Phils before the Sixers game, and then I was like, oh, yeah.
JK?
They have another day off.
Nothing's going on.
So Reese goes and rings the old bell for the Sixers win last night.
That's right, man. That's right. But split to 2 games with Detroit, Tuesday, Wednesday. They lose on Tuesday, 3-1. The offense does not show up that day at all, man. I think they had 4 hits the entire game. It was just ugly. They scored in the bottom of the 9th to not have a shutout. It was just brutal to watch.
Yeah, and that wasn't the most disappointing thing of the whole game.
What was?
Vinny V came back to the Vinny V we know.
Oh, man.
What was it? 3.2 innings and 100 pitches?
Yeah, dude,
That's
it was
fucking
not
bad.
good. It was not good. Not a good start, and only gave up 3 runs, which, again, right along Vinny. His ERA is still only 2.73, but I think he just likes to throw pitches.
How the fuck do you throw 100 pitches and only give up 3 runs?
Dude, a lot of 3-2 counts, a lot of 2-strike, a lot of foul balls, man. 7 strikeouts, 3 walks, which means you're going deep into pretty much every count because he gives up 6 hits. I mean, that's not a lot. It's tough to watch sometimes. You're not pulling the trigger yet on Vinny. You know, you're going to let him go.
He's been pretty good throughout.
Because he has been good, so you're going to give him a couple of more, but it's just one of those things, dude. You can tell early on. It's just like, oh shit, this is fucking 2017 Vinny and not new age Vinny. But the rest of the bullpen solid that day, man. Ramos, Dominguez, Morgan, Kapler was listening to me a little bit on these pods, letting these guys go a full fucking inning and not bringing them in for one batter. And Hector Neris, our de facto closer, had to get some work in since he hadn't thrown a couple of days. But disappointing game overall, man. And was that the night Bryce Harper was booed? Or
Yes.
That was Tuesday, right? Or was that at the
No,
the
that was
series?
Tuesday. He got booed.
What were your thoughts on that? I know it was a talking point all around the Delaware Valley of too soon, did he deserve it, too harsh? What are your thoughts?
Well, first off, I'd like to say that he handled it very well. He said, yeah, I'd boo myself
right.
as well. I think it's a little premature. Everybody's been down on him, and yeah, he has not performed well at all. But the guy missed a ton in spring training, and I think you need that time in spring training because he's not getting out by curveballs or sliders or whatever, off-speed pitches. They're challenging him with fastballs, throwing it right down the pipe, and he's not hitting them.
Yeah, that's the concerning part is because velocity is a new man's game, and he's not swinging at bad pitches. He's not chasing pitches out of the zone because he's still walking. He leads the walks, but he's not hitting the fastball. And when you're a power hitter and you can't hit a fastball, it's what are you doing, man? Just swinging through pitches. Here are a couple stats, Pags, and kind of why people are booing, okay, on why you say it's too early. Well, in the past month, since April 7th, he's hitting 179. All right, to your point, striking out 28.6% of his plate appearances, so almost a third of the time going up, dude. He's not even putting the ball in play. That's ridiculous. At home, where your beloved Philly fans are, the entire year he's hitting $169, okay? Yeah. They're paying all this money, and this guy, he's got a couple homers at home, but he's hitting $169, man. And in the last 10 days, it's even worse. 093. He's 3 for 32. Fucking put a bunt down to third baseline, dude. Humbug.
Right. And those stats, I'm assuming, include the 5-hit game he had in Colorado.
Some of them, right, depending on the length. Not the last 10 days, obviously.
And not at home, but...
Yeah, so over the course of that month, he's hitting under 200, and he's got 5 hits in one day. So it's less than that over the course, man, which they didn't even give him a month, though. So here's something I saw this take give me your thoughts. Do you feel as if the boos were directed directly at Bryce, or more so kind of the product as a whole, because they haven't been playing great baseball and Bryce is just kind of the face of the operation?
I don't know if they're necessarily all at Bryce. I'm sure some of them were like, yo, the reason I bought these tickets was to come down and see you hit homers. And that's not a fair thing because there's 162 of these games.
Came to see you put the ball in play, though.
Well,
I think
true.
that's a fair standard to set.
Yeah. I think it's frustrating, but yet the team's still in first place and a very promising couple of games coming up that hopefully they'll snag a couple more wins and stay in first place.
Well, things were not looking good Wednesday either. They were down for the majority of that game. I think it ended up being 2-1. They brought in Hector Neres to work Aaron Nola out of a jam, and he had a better start, but still not vintage Nola in his own right. And Mikey Franco came through with the big hit. I believe it was a bases-clearing double in the bottom of the eighth to put him ahead to right center. The guy's using the whole field now a little bit, and he's been one of the more improved Phillies on this entire staff.
And he's not settling in at the 8-hole anymore. They're kind of moving him around a little bit here and there. He was the 5 for a while there with all the injuries. So Mikey's kind of doing what we had hoped he'd been doing 3 years ago.
Sure, man. And like you mentioned, big series with the Nationals coming up. 3 games with them at home. We got Jared Eichhoff versus Jeremy Hellickson on Friday night.
Oh, an old foe.
The old friend coming back to the yard. On Saturday, you have a marquee matchup between Patrick Corbin and Jake Arrieta. This is the first time the Phils will see Corbin. They missed him both times through earlier in the year. And then game 3, you have Anibal Sanchez, who's really been struggling for them at 0-4, versus Zach Eflin. So you got to think that obviously the goal is 2 out of 3, but that is kind of what you're going to need with these matchups lining up.
And if there's anybody that the Phils can play to get Bryce back in the swing of things is his old counterparts.
A little bit of motivation this weekend.
Now, read an article about that second game against Detroit, and they were saying how Bryce is hitting the ball hard, but they were outs. He was hitting them directly to him. Now, as a hitter, does that give you some confidence getting to the plate where you know you're hitting the ball hard, but you're still getting out, but you're not striking out?
It can be a double-edged sword because if you're all over the ball but just hitting it at people, it can be deflating, knowing that I'm doing everything I can and shit's not going right. So, like, what the hell am I supposed to do? And you can bury yourself, or there is the other side of it that eventually they're going to fall. They're not going to go at people all the time, as well as us baseball players tend to think the baseball gods will even things out.
Eventually.
And eventually he'll get a few C&I singles, Texas leaguers falling in, and he'll go 3 for 5 and won't hit the ball hard the entire day.
Right.
So basically Ryan Howard came on ESPN and told Bryce that you're going to have to roll with the ups and downs of Philadelphia. There were games where he was 0 for 4 with 3 strikeouts getting booed, and then he had the game-winning hit in extra innings, and people were loving him. So you're just going to roll with us, Bryce. Honestly, they need to get healthy, Pags, and that brings up another point of how much has this team missed and how much has this fan base, I think, underappreciated Odubel Herrera since he's gone out, hitting in the middle of the lineup, playing center field, kind of the energy he brings. Since he's gone down, man, with Altair and Roman Quinn, this whole offense has just kind of gone down with him.
Well, I feel like Odubel doesn't strike out. He always makes contact with the ball.
He's a tough
so he's always putting it in play or fouling it off and taking fucking forever. So I think that fucks with the pitcher a little bit. I have always been an Odubel guy. I know people get annoyed by him, but I've always thought that he was one of the better players on our team. What's his ETA to get back in?
They're hoping to have him back, I believe, within the next week or so. He's closer than Kingery. Robertson's going to take some time. Tommy Hunter's still going to be out a while. He's the closest one to getting back on the field. I think after this next series, they're hopeful he'll join them on the road trip to the NL Central that they have lined up.
He'll be back when I'm going down to see him play the Rockies.
There you go.
2 weekends from now, so pumped to see him back in the lineup.
I like it. And last question or point here, Pags, for the Philly Fanatic podcast is around Nick Pivetta, who went down to AAA and over the course of 6 innings, so 18 total outs, had 14 strikeouts.
Ooh.
Yeah, gave up 1 run, a couple of hits, but clearly was agitated and kind of went at it. And now the question is, with the 5 starters who the Phillies have had, there's really not a weak spot right now to where you're going to bring Pivetta up. And the reason they sent him down was because every game matters. So to benefit the Phillies and where they're weakest is kind of that bullpen area. Do you think it would benefit them to move Pivetta to the bullpen and kind of see if that avenue would work out for him?
Well, let me ask you this. If you go to the bullpen, do you have to get in a completely different mindset? And then all of a sudden they're like, say one of these starters goes down and be like, hey, we got to throw you in as a starter. Does that fuck with you as a pitcher?
It's definitely tough. I mean, obviously you want to know your role and kind of what you're getting into. Myself, in my first couple of years at Lehigh, I was that guy that if any of the starters got into trouble, I could be long relief, so I would come in, and if they didn't need me, I would start game 4 because they hadn't used me yet. Obviously, that's not kind of where they're at with Pivetta, but the only concern I have about moving somebody to the bullpen is it's very tough to then, at any point in his career, be moved back to a starter. Because they did this with Adam Morgan. Yeah. And my buddy Ryan Presley was a starter coming up, and then they moved him to the bullpen. It's kind of the move of, hey, you're not successful in this role, so let's try you here. But then there's really no move after that.
Yeah, but isn't that too early with a Pivetta who's supposed to be the darling of this pitching staff?
That's the dilemma because, yes, he could help you more today in the bullpen with the Phillies. So what is now more important, today, this year, winning, or is it still the longevity, the length, and his career as a whole? Because those answers are going to be different depending on which one you're valuing more. And then that gets tricky with the communication to the fan base because you send him down because every game matters. Well, if it matters and you bring him back up and put him in the bullpen, that would be better. So do that. But then there's really no other move. If he comes up and stinks in the bullpen, that's kind of you played all your cards.
That's it.
So what are your thoughts
I'm with
there?
him staying at AAA, and then ultimately when one of these guys either struggles or gets injured, I think that's where you see Pivetta coming back into the...
I think it would be too quick to move him there now.
I just think he has so much stuff that you're kind of limiting him if you're going to the bullpen and keeping him in the bullpen.
Problem is right now he's a 2-pitch pitcher. And those only succeed in the bullpen.
Right.
Because they only see people one time. It's when you see people 2, 3, 4 times through the lineup to where you can sit on one or the other and you start to struggle. So that's why people think he would be really good because he's high 90s with an above-average breaking ball. And when you're going one inning, that's all you need.
Yeah.
So I see it.
So you could see him as like the Miller from the Indians, kind of like
Nick
that.
Nick Pivetta is the best closer on the Philadelphia Phillies right now. He really is.
Yeah.
Like, Hector's doing well, but, like, pure stuff-wise, Pivetta would have the best stuff in the bullpen.
That's a nice little argument there, and I wouldn't put it past Gabe to eventually be like, this is the route we're going.
That's what I think. Another month or two, give the bullpen a little bit more of a shot to stabilize itself, but if it continues to be a shit show, it's something you're going to see eventually. That's our Philly Fanatics podcast. Hopefully you guys enjoyed listening to it. We appreciate you guys helping us out, listening, sharing, doing everything you can out there. This was Miho, the Too Close to Call podcast.
And I am Pags. We appreciate you guys, and go Phils.
Peace.
The 0-2 pitch, swing and a miss, struck him out. The Philadelphia Phillies are 2008 World Champions of Baseball. Fran Lynn does it again and stays perfect for the 2008 season.